Hey guys, Mike at the Pop Culture Playhouse, and after a few weeks of being away, I'm finally back with a new installment of the Blu-ray DVD Weekly Wrap-Up. In this week's episode, we're going to take advanced sneak peeks at Scream Factory's upcoming release for The Battery, some catalog Universal titles for the Halloween season, including White Noise starring Michael Keaton, the Stephen King adaptation from 1984, Firestarter, and one of my childhood favorites, The Addams Family, coming from Warner Brothers through their Paramount distribution deal, and the complete 7th season of NYPD Blue coming soon from Shout Factory. All this and more, so sit tight and we'll be back in just a second. Alrighty guys, and welcome back to this week's installment of the Blu-ray DVD Weekly Wrap-Up. The first title we're going to take a look at streets tomorrow, September 16th from Scream Factory, and it's one of their more contemporary releases, 2013's The Battery. Now, as a big, devoted Scream Factory fan as I am, as many of you guys know that I am, I'm such a lover and fan of their, dedication and unrelenting passion that they have for the films of yesteryear. But from time to time, they really like to designate their attention to some more independent efforts of a contemporary nature. And The Battery is the latest title from that canon. This modern-day zombie film focuses on two former baseball players who are kind of, trying to survive amongst a zombie holocaust that's really kind of taken over the world, as many of these zombie films do. And they're kind of trying to survive in the backwoods of a New England, rural area. And their personalities tend to clash. They were really never great friends to begin with. One guy is, still in very much disbelief of the situation that he's combating and dealing with, whereas the other ball player is kind of, very welcoming to this new lifestyle and kind of likes living off of the land and really, really adapts to this lawless kind of violent nature that he has to, when he's confronted with zombies. So, while this film is obviously a zombie film, if you really had to put a label on it, it's so much more than that. It's really the personalities of these two characters that you're following throughout the runtime that really sells this film home. It's very much a character-driven film amongst anything. While this is a zombie film, it's very light in the zombie appearances, and, like I said, it's really just the appearances and, the personalities of these two conflicting characters that really sells this film and makes it different compared to a lot of, independent zombie films that are trying to be made on a dime. But the writing in this one and, kind of the personalities from, these two, upcoming actors are just, really awesome. I thought that it was really believable. I thought that there was a real naturalistic quality to their acting tendencies that I think really separated it from, a lot of the other zombie films. Whereas, other zombie films, they're trying to make it, try to tell a very, grand scale story on a very minimal budget. But something like The Battery definitely understood the budget constraints that they were working under, and wanted to tell something entirely different and really invoke something a little bit more special in its writing and, the characters that they're presenting in this one. And in that respect, I think The Battery really succeeded, fully on that. It was something that a film like this that I had heard a lot about going into was really being met with a lot of rave reviews from a lot of independent circuits, some film festivals, and I'm really happy to say that The Battery, was definitely up my alley. I was very surprised at how much I like this, but again, I think it's just a testament to the filmmakers knowing exactly what they wanted to do, knowing exactly what kind of story they wanted to tell on such a small budget. And again, it's definitely a credit to the actors, talent that they managed to sell this home because, again, with working with such a small budget and kind of being in, the backwoods areas of this New England rural setting, there's really not much going on. It's just really them conflicting with each other's personalities and kind of, carving out this whole thing about, really the boredom of what, a zombie apocalypse can do to you. I mean, the simple pleasures that we all enjoy, listening to music and things that we take for granted, something as simple as just getting a new pair of batteries for, your CD player or something is just, you know, taken with such, you know, great care in this one, and it's on such a bigger deal for them because they're living in this, you know, zombie apocalypse, trying to live through it. So it's very cool that they kind of focused on and picked up on things like that I think, you know, zombie films up until this point have really kind of turned a blind eye to. So once again, a real great credit to the Battery and all that they accomplished on such a small budget. Once again, Scream Factory has done a really knockout job in the AV department. You know, the film looks really good, sounds really great, too. The only thing that I think, you know, is kind of taken off guard, but I think it has more to do with kind of, you know, the really, you know, skeleton crew and bare bones, you know, filming capabilities that they had was during more, you know, exterior, of which there are, you know, many. It kind of takes up the majority of the film. During exterior sequences where the sun is very bright, it tends to blow out the film a little bit, you know, just kind of blows it out to a very, you know, white light, but I think that that was something that was just a little unavoidable for them, but that's just, you know, kind of a minor quarrel that I had with it, and again, it's probably more attributed to, you know, the filming on location than it does with the transfer itself. But overall, you know, the transfer looks great. It's a, you know, a newly shot film, so of course it's going to look good. But really, the one thing that really sells it home, again, other than the film's quality itself, is the special features department. In this, you have an audio commentary, a making of the Battery, which is a 90-minute behind-the-scenes documentary, which is a really great crash course for somebody who is a first-time filmmaker or an independent filmmaker. This really goes through the ins and outs of what, you know, the cast and crew and the filmmakers went through to kind of tell their story and bring it to life for us. You know, really great documentary. In addition, you have an outtake reel, a theatrical trailer, a featurette on the music of the Battery, which is a really cool. There's some great music in this one, some really cool indie rock, garage type stuff that will definitely leave you kind of bopping your head and jumping on iTunes to see what exactly it was you were listening to in this film. And in addition, you have a reversible cover art that I'm going to showcase in just a second. But again, the Battery was a really cool modern take on the zombie apocalypse, which we've all come to know and love, but, you know, what the guys accomplished on such a shoestring budget, you know, kind of making it more of a very character-driven, you know, personality-clashing tale is what really separates this zombie film against, you know, so many of the other independent, you know, zombie films that I feel are just kind of, you know, overrunning a lot of, you know, video chains and, you know, Amazon retailer outlets and things like that. But, you know, the Battery definitely gets my seal of approval and definitely goes down as probably my favorite of Scream Factory's contemporary releases. So, all that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the packaging. This is a pretty cool cover art there. Kind of reminiscent of things like a Slumber Party Massacre, where you're kind of looking through the legs of a zombie, and of course you see our two main characters there in their very trendy Volvo. And then when you flip that over, you get a description of the film, some screen grabs, and of course all those juicy special features that I showcased or talked about just a second ago. And then when you crack this one open, you get a shot of the Blu-ray disc art, which is some pretty cool stuff there. And I'm just going to take the disc out real quick, because I do want to showcase that that great custom cover art that was contributed by RP Kung Fu Bob O'Brien, who was previously responsible for the collector's edition cover art for Lake Placid. So great job there. It's really cool to see Scream Factory give a reversible cover art option on something that isn't even a collector's edition. So definitely has my seal of approval. Certainly my favorite of Scream Factory's contemporary releases. Great modern day take on the zombie lore, and it comes with a great package of special features to cut into after you check out this film. So be sure to scoop this up from Scream Factory when it becomes available tomorrow, September 16th. Alrighty guys, and next up, available right now from Lionsgate Home Entertainment, is the complete third season of The Little House on the Prairie, on Blu-ray for the first time ever. Now, I've covered the first season of Little House on the Prairie here at the Pop Culture Playhouse, and I did go out and get Season 2, so Season 3 is right around the time, it really was around this and Season 4, where Little House on the Prairie was really kind of standing firmly on its own two legs. You know, as many TV shows do, you know, the first or second season, they're kind of, you know, sliding around on their feet, really trying to find their footing, you know, with the writing, the establishment of the characters, and, you know, really the stories in each and every episode. But it really wasn't this season and the season after this where Little House on the Prairie is really starting to come into its own. Again, you're, of course, following the Ingalls family and the frontier that is America, dealing with, family values and a lot of family issues that still plague families to this very day. In this season, the Ingalls are confronted with the father of the family dealing with his own father being a recent widow. They also deal with the confrontation of a runaway child, the outbreak of mountain fever, amongst many, many other things that they're combating in this very exciting season. In addition, there's quite a few guest appearances to be found in these. In some of the early episodes, I believe it's the first or second episode, Johnny Cash and his wife actually make appearances. So if that doesn't kind of set the stage for the other guest appearances that you're going to find throughout the entire duration of this show, I don't know what is, but it's really cool to kind of, revisit these episodes, which I probably haven't seen since I, watched them when I was a kid. So it's really cool to revisit these and kind of see familiar faces pop up in, different episodes from time to time. But like I said, season 3 is a real, great way to kind of, come back to the Ingalls family and, the writing and, the comfortability that the actors were having in their roles is just really coming, into light in this season. I really, really dig this season. All 21 episodes are preserved uncut in this Blu-ray edition, which is really good. Once again, Lionsgate Home Entertainment does a really sound job in the AV department. Everything looks very nice and very naturalistic, and, colors are bursting very nicely. Dialogue never goes, without any hitches, so everything looks tip-top in this season. And in the special features department, you have the continuing documentary, The Little House Phenomenon Part 3, Casting Walnut Grove. So very cool to see them continuing the tradition of breaking up that documentary in pieces throughout the run of all the seasons. So like I said, I'm a big fan of Little House on the Prairie. Season 3 is definitely where, the show really takes a real turn, for the better in a, really great way. Like I said, the writing's just getting so much better. The stories and all the family values are just kind of coming across, never feeling preachy, but just always feeling very good and wholesome and very classy, too. So, great stuff to be had in this one. So, all that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the packaging. Another great shot, classy, beautiful shot of the Ingalls family front and center. And then when you flip this back over, you get a kind of a rundown of everything you're going to find in this season, as well as the technical specifications and the special features. So very cool stuff. And then when you take that slipcover off, again, you have the same package art on the front and the back. This is a 5-disc Blu-ray edition with an ultraviolet UV coat, which is very cool to see Lionsgate do that for, an older television show. Got some very nice disc art on there. And then to the last couple of Blu-rays right there. So, once again, another great job in this one. I really want to commend Lionsgate for kind of, taking the time to give such an older show like this its due on Blu-ray. I know, CBS has been doing it in, in recent months with things like I Love Lucy and The Honeymooners and The Andy Griffith Show. So I think it's really great to go out and support, some of these older television shows making the leap to Blu-ray, because as long as the sales are there, I see no reason why, more seasons of this will, continue to come out on Blu-ray. And another thing to note is that Lionsgate is selling these seasons at such a great price. I believe that you can get season 3 right now for less than $20. So for a 5 Blu-ray season of a really timeless classic television show is a steal if I've ever seen one. So definitely go out and scoop up the complete 3rd season of Little House on the Prairie. It's available right now from Lionsgate Home Entertainment. Alrighty guys, and next up, available right now from Warner Brothers, is one of my favorite films growing up, and it's 1991's The Addams Family. Now this was a personal pickup of mine, and I just had to talk about it because I've loved The Addams Family for as long as I can remember. Now, it may be the fact that I'm from the town that Charles Addams was born and raised in, and kind of developed his inspiration for The Addams Family and created it right here, but, I've just always loved, the original 1960s television show, and of course the 90s films just really cemented my enduring love for them. So I was so happy when Warner Brothers, through their distribution of over 600 Paramount deals that they brokered a deal with them not too long ago, that Addams Family was finally making the leap to Blu-ray. So I'm so pleased to have this in my HD library. But for those of you that have never seen the film adaptation of the Addams Family, it deals with, of course, the Addams Family, Gomez, Morticia, their kids, Wednesday, and Pugsley, and of course, their butler Lurch, their little hand, their severed hand that has a mind of its own. Thing, and of course Mama, who is of course the grandmotherly character in the house. Gomez's brother, Uncle Fester, has been MIA for the better part of 25 years after being lost in the Bermuda Triangle. So suddenly when he strangely and mysteriously reappears in their lives, they're overjoyed, but some members of the family aren't all that convinced that it's the Uncle Fester. So some hijinks, of course, ensue throughout the duration of the runtime, as Gomez and, Fester kind of bury the hatchet on their old wounds and kind of forge a new relationship forward. But, of course, all the way to the end credits, it's nothing but nonstop hilarity. Like I said, I grew up loving this film. Absolutely loving this film. Barry Sonnenfeld, who of course would go on to carve a really great, career for himself, helming, of course, the Men in Black trilogy, Get Shorty, which is one of my, favorite comedies from the 1990s, really got his start with the Addams Family movies. So, growing up watching this one, I couldn't help but get wrapped up in just how perfect the casting was from everybody. I mean, the late Raul Julia is the perfect Gomez. I mean, he is just so perfect, so funny, the really, uncomfortable kind of, affection that him and Morticia, who's, of course, beautifully, performed by Angelica Houston in this one. It's just so uncomfortable and so hilarious at the same time. The kids, Pugsley and Wednesday, who, of course, was played by a young Christina Ricci, are fantastic in this one. They're so funny. One of the standout moments in this one is, of course, when they're putting on a school play, and they're, kind of going through a sword fight, and Uncle Fester hooks them up with these limbs that, once they get cut off, blood sprays everywhere to, the unsuspecting audience, and everybody is just in awe, but of course their own family stands up and gives them a standing ovation and applaud. So, hilarious stuff in this one. Everything about this film, the moody atmosphere, the dark shadows, everything in this one stylistically, is, definitely, is attributed to, the massive success of Tim Burton's Batman. You can totally see shades of, where they probably borrowed the style and tone that Burton did with Batman and implemented here, but it totally works too. I mean, the nature of who the Addams Family are and, what they're all about, makes it look perfectly. The art direction of this film is really phenomenal, and on Blu-ray, I'm proud to say that it looks very, very good. A very filmic, naturalistic, transfer is to be seen here. Nothing really in the way of, dirt and debris. It's a really healthy layer of grain in this one. Again, this is a very dark and dreary film, especially when you're in the Addams' house, but everything is, handled very well. Black levels are very, very good in this one, so I was very happy to see that Warner Brothers treat this with such great care. Sounds really good, too. Nothing in, no anomalies to be seen, in the mix or anything. Dialogue comes across very clear, and some more intense moments come across with a nice added boost too. The only disappointing thing to be had in this one is the special features department. There's only 2 theatrical trailers. An original 91 EPK was not included in this one, which I know of course exists. Just given the fact that this film is circling its 25th anniversary, I thought that it would have been really cool to maybe see them do a retrospective documentary, or even have, Barry Sonnenfeld do, like, a new audio commentary. I think that Addams Family definitely deserves it for being such a staple of the 1990s. Now, again, kind of a pet peeve thing, but I am a little disappointed in Warner Brothers that they didn't issue Addams Family Values out on Blu-ray the same day that the original film came out. Now, this is definitely the case. Gonna go off on a bit of a tangent here, but this is definitely the case of a film that had a sequel that definitely surpassed it. Addams Family value, I'm not going to say that the Addams Family, the original film, is bad in comparison. It's certainly not. I love them really equally, but Addams Family Values just has a little bit more added humor in it for me. You know, the appearance of Joan Cusack, and of course the goofy camp counselors at the summer camp that Wednesday and Pugsley are kind of, you know, banished to, are so funny in that one. So it's kind of a bummer and a bit of a missed opportunity that they didn't issue Addams Family Values out on Blu-ray. You know, when I heard that they were putting this out, I almost would have had it pegged for a Blu-ray double feature. I think that that would have, you know, satisfied, you know, all fans, but unfortunately it was not meant to be, but I do hope that Warner Brothers does do that in the future. But if you grew up in the early 90s like I did, and you love the Addams Family as much as I do, you definitely need to go out and scoop this one up. This is perfect viewing for the Halloween season, so definitely check it out. It's available right now from Warner Brothers. Alrighty guys, and next up, available right now from Universal Studios, is another personal pickup of mine. It's 1984's Firestarter. Now, this is actually one of the few Stephen King adaptations that I've never got around to seeing. I own the book, although I've yet to read it, but, you know, being a big Stephen King fan, you know, the film adaptations and, of course, the books, I had to scoop this one up once it got announced for Blu-ray. So, Drew Barrymore actually stars in this one at the young age. You know, this is post-E.T., and she is starring as a young girl named Charlie, who has the ability to ignite fire at just, you know, the glance of her eye. You know, when a government agency known as the Shop is coming after her and her father, they need to figure out a way to kind of survive in this world with the unique abilities that both of them, you know, kind of have within them. It is a really great supporting cast, including people like Martin Sheen, Art Carney, Louis Fleischer, and George C. Scott, who's fantastic in this. This film, I've heard mixed things throughout the years, so I didn't really know what to expect going into it, but after watching it, I actually found quite a lot to like in this one. I couldn't help but feel that this had a bit of a Scanners vibe going through with it. I totally felt like it, you know, kind of had that vibe of, you know, people with special abilities, and of course, you know, a very, you know, big, domineering government agency coming after them for experimentational reasons or what have you. So I definitely got a Scanners vibe, you know, watching this one, and that's not a bad thing, because Scanners is a phenomenal movie, and I thought that the performances in this one were really good too. Again, kind of tapping into things that, you know, King covered in, like, Carrie, you know, with having, you know, psychic abilities and whatnot, but implemented here in a young girl who can ignite fire just by thinking hard enough about it. And, you know, her father, who, of course, has, you know, special powers too, you know, using his own brain power, he can force people to do basically whatever, you know, his mind wants them to do. Very cool stuff, you know, playing into that whole psychic ability thing. It has a great cast going for it. You know, it's definitely not the most amazing Stephen King adaptation, but, you know, hearing throughout the years that it's kind of mediocre and so-so, I actually kind of liked it more than, you know, what most people were telling me about it. So I was pleasantly surprised and, you know, pleasantly entertained throughout it, too. Unfortunately, Universal Studios' AV treatment is a little problematic, although it's not detrimental by any means, at least not to me. I know the term DNR can set a lot of people off in riots, but while there is some usage of it in this film, it's not overly bad. You know, some moments are worse than others, but what I can say positively about this one is that the transfer is spotless. I mean, it absolutely looks spotless. It's very clear of any dirt and debris. You know, looks very you know, fresh and clean, so it looks very nice, but, you know, healthy looking. The issues of DNR really arises in, you know, the skin tones and facial features. Probably most noticeable is in the brief appearances from Heather Locklear. She looks so plasticky and fake due to the overusage of DNR that it's really bad. Everybody else, down to Drew Barrymore and the other cast members, DNR is definitely in use in their facial features, so detail might not be as sharp or, you know, as clear and detailed as we would hope, seen in close-ups because of the DNR, but it's still not as bad. I know a lot of people hate the use of DNR, and anytime it's used, it just plagues a transfer for them to the point where it's just garbage, but I don't really feel that way about this transfer at all. I'm admitting, wholeheartedly that there's definitely DNR usage in the facial features, and like I said, some moments are definitely more noticeable and a little, they draw your attention than other sequences, but on the whole, I thought that this was a pretty decent transfer for a catalog title from Universal Studios. Unfortunately, no special features to speak of, but that's just kind of, the name of the game that Universal is kind of playing with most of their catalog titles, to say the least. But like I said, Firestarter was a Stephen King film adaptation that I had never seen. I was really happy to check it out. Definitely invoked a bit of a Cronenberg Scanners vibe, and I thought the very great diverse cast did a great job in this one, from the young Drew Barrymore all the way to veteran people like George C. Scott. So if you're a big Stephen King aficionado, I see no reason why you shouldn't pick up Firestarter on Blu-ray for the Halloween viewing season. It's available right now from Universal Studios. Alrighty guys, and next up, available right now from Universal Studios, is another personal pickup. It's 2005's White Noise. Now, I remember this film so distinctly in my memory. When this was originally coming out back in 2005, I remember seeing the trailers and the TV spots everywhere, and even at that time being in awe that it was headlined by Michael Keaton. Batman, Beetlejuice, he was such a big part of my childhood, but after those films, I mean, he was still working very heavily, appearing in things like Jack Frost and Multiplicity, and Jackie Brown, of course, but it didn't feel like I had seen him in a big, Hollywood blockbuster that was in, 2,000 theaters around the country. So when this was coming out, I really was making mental notes to see this one because it was blending, horror movie with Michael Keaton, one of my favorite actors, so I had to see it, but unfortunately, I never got around to seeing it, and after all these years, I still had never gotten around to seeing it. So, nearing almost 10 years since its original release, and Universal Studios finally putting it on Blu-ray, I figured this was the perfect time to not only blind buy it, but finally check it out. So, for those of you that have never seen White Noise, it stars Michael Keaton, who plays an architect, and following the tragic death of his new wife, he starts exploring the phenomenon known as an EVP, which is an electronic voice phenomenon, and it's a way for the living to connect with the dead through the usage of everyday appliances like like the radios and microphones, basically sound equipment and frequencies, different frequencies, or the white fuzz on your television and stuff. So it's a very specific type of ghost story. I mean, we've seen ghost stories before, like Poltergeist and what have you, but White Noise really tries to make it that much more specific. We're dealing with EVP in general here, so it's definitely unique in the sense that they focused on such a specific ghost phenomenon to kind of center the story on, but I thought that it was actually pretty effective for what it was. I think Michael Keaton still proved at this time that he was more than capable of quite a range, kind of conjuring up a lot of emotion, following the death of his tragic, the tragic death of his wife, and then of course just the different phenomenons and all these ghostly apparitions that he lets in to his everyday life once he starts experimenting with EVP. So, like I said, I thought it was a very interesting take on the whole ghost or supernatural subgenre. It wasn't amazing to me. I think that, there were some parts of it that seemed like it was just kind of going on a little too long, that they may felt like they were kind of stretching the whole gimmick of this whole EVP thing. But overall, I thought the good kind of outweighed the bad in this one. Not an amazing movie, like I said, but Michael Keaton's performance is really good in it. The fact that they kind of centered on such a specific area of ghost phenomenon and told it so earnestly and seriously that it definitely kind of rises above, other ghost stories that, were coming out around this time, especially in, the wake of things like The Ring, which of course is a Japanese remake, but it was things, like that. But, White Noise was something that tried to do something a little different, and for the most part, I think they succeeded. It's just not as remembered as people, might recall, but this actually did get a direct-to-video sequel, which, oddly enough, of course, I haven't seen yet, but it did get a direct-to-video sequel. But on this one, you know, unlike something like Firestarter or People Under the Stairs, Universal Studios did port over presumably all the special features that were found on its original DVD release. You get deleted scenes, a hearing is believing actual EVP sessions, making contact, an EVP experts featurette, recording the Afterlife at Home featurette, and a feature commentary with director Jeffrey Sachs and Michael Keaton. So pretty cool stuff. In addition, you get a digital HD copy code. So overall, it's a pretty cool, you know, pretty cool package with the HD code. And unlike something like Firestarter, I thought that the AV quality fared so much better. I saw no usage of DNR found in this one. I think that maybe it has something to do with the fact that this was a bit of a newer film. Like I said, it's only about 9 years old now, so I guess there wasn't really much need or reason for Universal to go back to something so recent to kind of feel the need that they had to, you know, overly clean it up, which Universal tends to do from time to time. But White Noise definitely looks probably the best out of some of their more recent, you know, horror-themed catalog titles like, you know, Firestarter or Dracula or things like that. But yeah, White Noise definitely looks really good in the AV department. So all that said, I'll give you guys, you know, kind of a shot of the packaging. I know I didn't do that on Firestarter, but you know, utilizing the original poster art, which is always a plus. I do like that Universal does do that for their catalog titles. And then when you crack that one open, very, you know, bare bones, very simplistic cover art, and then of course you get your digital ultraviolet copy code right there. So overall, guys, you know, not an amazing ghost movie, but I did think that it was pretty good for what it was, kind of, you know, zoning in on a very specific type of ghost phenomenon. And again, seeing Michael Keaton in anything good, bad, mediocre is always worth seeing. So definitely check it out. It's available right now from Universal Studios. Alrighty guys, and the final title that we're going to discuss in this week's installment of the Blu-ray DVD Weekly Wrap-Up streets September 30th from Shout Factory. It's the complete 7th season of NYPD Blue. Co-created by Stephen Bochco and David Milch, Shout Factory proudly welcomes you back to the 15th precinct of New York City, where detectives are dealing with so many different issues and so many different crimes taking place at every corner, every which way. This is a great, great show. I know I've talked about some of the later seasons in previous weekly wrap-up episodes, but again, I have to commend Shout Factory for kind of, you know, putting the pedal to the metal by pumping out more of these seasons on DVD for the first time. Fans have waited so many years, you know, following, you know, the delay of, you know, ever since season 4 came out. It was years and years before we got, you know, more seasons, and that's all thanks and credit to Shout Factory. So now we're finally at season 7, which brings us a little more than halfway through the run of the show. Season 7 originally debuted in 2000 and covered 22 episodes. Once again, you know, we're dealing with a lot of tried and true characters that we've been following for some seasons. Certain characters that have been emotionally scarred are kind of developing new relationships with new detectives that are joining the force. You know, a certain character in particular ends up reconciling with her ex-husband. You have, you know, so many other things, not of least dealing with 2 detectives that will be leaving by the end of the show. So a very exciting season, you know, and a very sad season to see some of the cast members go, but I'll let you guys find those out, you know, when you cut into this one yourself, when it becomes available September 30th. As always, NYPD Blue does a great job getting a ton of great guest appearance in this one, and season 7 is no exception. You have people like Mos Def, Elizabeth Berkley, and Regina Hall all making appearances in the 7th electrifying, you know, season of this great, great crime drama. I love this show. It's funny because I don't really, I really got to revisit some of the earlier seasons because I don't really remember them as much because, I mean, I watched them probably when they first debuted originally, so I'm more fresh with a lot of the more recent seasons that Shout Factory has been putting out, but overall, I just can't wait for this show to hopefully be done, you know, be released in its entirety on DVD so that you can kind of go through the entire run, you know, all in one shot. But, you know, I think Shout Factory is doing a great job. Like I said, we're up at season 7, and I believe there was either 12 or 13 seasons. I could be wrong on that one, but like I said, we're over the halfway mark, so as long as sales and support comes in for NYPD Blue, I'm sure that Shout Factory is going to go on and continue putting them out. So, all of that said, another great season of NYPD Blue. Again, very sad to see some cast members going, but a very great season and very drama-ridden indeed. So, all of that said, let's go ahead and cut into the package on this one. Another great image of some of the characters that you're going to find in this season. Great, kind of color scheme going on in that one. I think Shout Factory is doing a really good job with the cover arts on these. And then when you flip that one over, you get some more additional photographs of some of the detectives and cast members that you find in this one, as well as kind of a rundown of, what lies in this season. And then when you crack this one open, you get all 6 DVDs with some really great disc art. And if you guys can make that out in the back, you get, a lot of, all of the episode descriptions, as well as the original air dates, which, again, I love when Shout Factory or any distributor does that. It really helps you keep your place, when you're watching this show on DVD. Kind of going through all the other discs, and then of course you get down to the final 2, discs 5 and 6, with some more great disc art there. So, once again, guys, Season 7, another great season for NYPD Blue. A lot of great cast members in this one. And again, some cool appearances from, guest stars. Again, you're following a lot of the, characters that you've kind of grown to love. A lot of them are dealing with some very, very heavy stuff in this season, but that just makes for great television and, of course, great drama. So, if you're a big fan of crime dramas or a big devoted lover of NYPD Blue, do not hesitate to pick this up when it becomes available September 30th from Shout Factory.